You are Harlan Voss, and the smell of motor oil has been your whole world for 11 years. You did not choose this life so much as it chose you. The way grief chooses a man and rearranges everything he thought he wanted. There was a time long before the grease found permanent lines in the creases of your palms, when your hands built engines that broke land speed records in private testing facilities outside Detroit. There was a time when men in expensive suits waited for your calls instead of the other way around. But that was before Marlene got sick, before the hospital bills stacked higher than your pride could bear, before you sold the patents, the equipment, the house with the wraparound porch, and finally, quietly, your name from the industry that once whispered it with reverence. Now, you own a 2-bay garage on the edge of a town called Millhaven, Ohio, population 4,000 and shrinking. The sign out front reads Voss Auto Repair in letters you painted yourself. One Sunday afternoon, while your daughter Juniper sat on an overturned bucket, 6 years old, asking, why? The letter V looked like a smile turned upside down. She is 17 now, and some mornings, when you watch her leave for school with her backpack slung over one shoulder, you still see that 6-year-old girl, still see Marlene's eyes in her face, and you think that whatever you gave up, you would give up 10 times over for the privilege of watching her grow. You tell yourself this every single day, because some days, it is the only thing that keeps the loneliness from swallowing you whole. It is a Tuesday morning in late September when the sports car pulls into your lot, and you know, before you even wipe your hands on your rag, that this is not a Millhaven car. It is a deep matte green, low to the ground, the kind of machine that costs more than your garage makes in 3 years combined. The engine note alone tells you things about its internals that the driver probably does not know herself. You have heard that particular hum before in another life, in a testing bay outside Stuttgart, and something in your chest tightens in a way you have not felt in a decade. The woman who steps out of the car is younger than you expected, maybe 34, 35, dressed in a blazer, too sharp for a town like this. Sunglasses pushed up into hair the color of dark honey. She introduces herself as Delphine Ashworth, and even before she says the name of her company, you recognize it, because it is stitched in small letters across the dashboard of the car itself. Ashworth Dynamics, the very company that, 9 years ago, quietly acquired a small patent portfolio from a broker who never once mentioned your name to the buyer. She does not recognize you. Why would she? You are just a man in a stained coverall, standing in front of a garage with a crooked sign. She explains the problem with clipped efficiency, the kind of voice used to being obeyed. And you listen without interrupting, though you already know from the sound of the engine what she is going to say before she says it. There is a knock in the timing, an intermittent stall under load, and she has already been turned away by 2 dealerships in the city, who told her the part would take 6 weeks to import. Word around here, she says, almost dismissively, is that you're the only one who can work on foreign performance engines without ruining them. You tell her you will take a look. She raises an eyebrow, like she doubts you, but has run out of options, and something about that look, so careless, so certain of your smallness, plants a small hard seed of old pride somewhere behind your ribs. By that afternoon, half the garage regular customers have gathered near the open bay door, drawn by the rare sight of a car worth more than most of their houses. Roscoe Pemberton, who owns the hardware store 2 streets over, leans against his truck, with his arms crossed, grinning like he is watching a show. And that is when Delphine, perhaps trying to be charming, perhaps trying to fill in awkward silence, says the thing that will follow you for the rest of your life. Tell you what, she says, loud enough for the small gathered crowd to hear, a smile playing at the corner of her mouth like this is nothing more than a joke to pass the time. You fix this car properly, no shortcuts, and I'll marry you. The crowd laughs. Roscoe laughs the loudest. You do not laugh, because you understand something none of them do, which is that a joke made carelessly by someone powerful can still land like a blade. on someone who has nothing left to protect but his dignity. You feel your face grow warm. Feel Juniper's friend, Della, who happened to be walking by with a bag of groceries for you, freeze at the edge of the lot with her mouth slightly open. And you understand, with the sinking certainty, that by tomorrow, this story will have traveled the entire town. You say nothing. You simply nod once, wipe your hands, and tell her to leave the keys. That night, after Juniper has gone to bed, you sit alone in the garage with the single work lamp, illuminating the open hood of the Ashworth Dynamics prototype. And you allow yourself, for the first time in years, to really look at the engine in front of you. Your hands remember it before your mind does. The architecture of the block, the placement of the secondary cooling manifold, the exact geometry of the intake you once sketched on a napkin in a Detroit diner at 2 in the morning while Marlene slept in the passenger seat of your old truck, too proud to admit you had nowhere else to sleep that week either. This is not just any engine. This is your engine. Refined, polished, given a corporate name and a sleeker shell, but underneath all of it, unmistakably, achingly, yours. You feel something crack open inside your chest, something you had buried so deep you almost convinced yourself it was gone. Not anger, not exactly. Grief, maybe. Grief for the man you used to be, the man who believed the world owed him nothing but hard work in exchange for recognition, before he learned the world does not work that way at all. You work through the night, not because the repair is difficult, though it is delicate, but because your hands need the motion, need the old familiar language of metal and torque and precision, need to remember who they used to belong to. By 4 in the morning, the engine hums exactly the way you built it to hum, exactly the way you dreamed it would hum, back when dreaming still felt safe. When Delphine returns the next afternoon, she finds you sitting on the same overturned bucket Juniper used to sit on, staring at the finished car looking, she will tell you much late, like a man staring at a ghost. She test drives it around the block. When she returns, her expression has changed entirely. The playful arrogance from the day before is gone, replaced by something more careful, more curious. She asks how you calibrated the secondary manifold, because her own engineering team, some of the most credentialed minds in the country, could never get that particular system to run without the stall under load. You tell her, simply, that you built it that way on purpose, that there is a specific tolerance window that only works if you understand why the manifold exists in the first place, not just what it does. She goes very still. That system, she says slowly, was designed by an anonymous inventor whose patents we acquired years ago. Legal never even had a name, just a shell company. My father always said it was the single most brilliant piece of engineering he'd ever purchased, and he searched for years to thank whoever built it. You do not answer right away. You look down at your hands, at the calluses, at the faint white scar along your thumb from a testing accident a lifetime ago, and you feel Juniper's whole future flash behind your eyes. All the reasons you buried this part of yourself so deeply that even you had started to forget it was real. It was me, you finally say. Just that. 2 small words carrying the weight of everything you gave up. Delphine's reaction is not what you expect. She does not gasp, does not perform shock for effect. She simply sits down on the concrete step beside your bucket, still in her tailored blazer, utterly unconcerned with the grease dust settling on her clothes, and asks you, quietly, humbly, to tell her everything. So you do. You tell her about Marlene, about the diagnosis that came like a thunderclap on an ordinary Tuesday, about selling everything you built to keep her comfortable for the 18 months you had left with her, about promising your dying wife, holding her hand in a hospital room that smelled of antiseptic and fading hope, that Juniper would never know a single day of instability, that you would give the girl a normal, steady, unremarkable life, even if it meant burying the extraordinary one you once had. You tell her that you do not regret it, not for one single second. You tell her that some men measure their worth in patents and boardrooms, and you used to be one of them, but grief taught you a different mathematics. one where worth is measured in a daughter's laughter at the dinner table, in her steady grades, in the fact that she has never once had to worry where her next meal was coming from. Delphine is quiet for a long time after you finish. When she finally speaks, her voice has lost every trace of the sharp, careless woman who made a joke in front of a laughing crowd the day before. "I owe you an apology," she says. "Not for the joke, though I am sorry for that too. I owe you an apology for a world that lets a man like you disappear into a small garage, while men far less talented sit in boardrooms taking credit for things they never built." You tell her it is all right, though some small, unhealed part of you is grateful, more grateful than you can properly express, to finally be seen. Over the following weeks, something unexpected begins to happen. Delphine returns to Millhaven, not for repairs, but for reasons she herself seems slightly embarrassed to name. She asks about Juniper's science fair project and ends up spending an entire Saturday afternoon in your garage, helping the girl wire a small motor for her robotics demonstration, laughing at Juniper's terrible engineering puns in a way that makes your daughter's whole face light up with the joy you have not seen since Marlene passed. She asks about your old designs, not to reclaim credit for her company, but because she genuinely wants to understand the mind behind them. She sits across your kitchen table eating the overcooked spaghetti you apologize for, and tells you it is the best meal she has had in months, and somehow, impossibly, you believe her. It is Roscoe, all people, who finally says out loud what the whole town has already noticed. He corners you by the gas pumps one evening, grinning that same knowing grin from the day of the joke, and tells you that a woman does not drive 3 hours every weekend just to check on a car repair. You want to dismiss it. You have built your entire adult identity around the belief that extraordinary things do not happen to men like you anymore, that you traded that version of your life away permanently the day you signed the papers selling your patents. But then you remember something Marlene told you once, near the very end, when she was more tired than afraid. She told you that the point of surviving grief was not to become smaller forever. It was to become quiet for a while, and then, when you were ready, to become yourself again. Just softer around the edges. Just wiser about what actually mattered. The night everything changes is unremarkable in every way except the one that matters. Delphine has stayed later than usual, helping Juniper finish her robotics project at the kitchen table while you make coffee. Neither of you particularly wants, just an excuse to keep the evening going a little longer. Juniper, with the blunt honesty only a 17-year-old can manage, looks up from her wiring and says, quite plainly, that she thinks Delphine should stop pretending she drives 3 hours just for spark plugs. The kitchen goes silent. Delphine's face turns the color of the coffee you are pouring, and for the first time since you have known her, the composed, confident CEO looks utterly at a loss for words. You set the coffee pot down. You look at her, really look at her, and you think about the joke she made that day, in front of the whole town. The one that humiliated you. The one that somehow, impossibly, became the doorway to the first real happiness you have felt in 11 years. You tell her quietly that you never held the joke against her. You tell her that grief taught you patience, taught you to wait for things to reveal their true shape before judging them by their first impression. You tell her that what started as a careless dare in front of a laughing crowd has become something you did not know you were still capable of wanting. She asks, almost nervously, almost like the confident version of herself has stepped aside to let something more honest through. Whether you are saying what she thinks you are saying, you tell her that you are. The proposal, when it finally comes, is nothing like the one made months earlier in front of an amused crowd of Millhaven regulars. It happens on an ordinary Thursday evening, in your garage under the same work lamp that once illuminated the engine that started everything. Delphine finds you there, after closing, and you turn to her with grease still on your hands, and you tell her that you spent 11 years believing the extraordinary parts of your life were finished, buried alongside everything you sold to keep a promise to a dying woman you loved. You tell her that she walked into your garage, and without meaning to, without even realizing it, gave you back a piece of yourself you thought was gone forever. Not the engineer, not the patents, not the old ambition, but the belief that you were still capable of being surprised by joy. You do not get down on one knee, because your knees are not what they used to be, and because this is not a fairy tale, it is something better, it is real. You simply take her hand, still elegant despite the grease now smudged across her palm from months of visiting a small-town garage, and you ask her if she meant what she said that first day, even as a joke, because you find yourself hoping, quietly, desperately, that some part of her did. She says yes before you even finish the question. The wedding takes place the following spring, not in some grand ballroom befitting a CEO's status, but in the gravel lot beside your garage, under strings of small white lights Roscoe helped hang from the eaves, with Juniper standing beside you as your witness, wearing a dress the exact shade of green as the sports car that started it all. Delphini's father attends, an aging man who spends most of the ceremony staring at you with an expression of quiet, overwhelmed gratitude, because he finally gets to shake the hand of the anonymous genius he searched for years to thank. Standing there, in front of the crooked sign you painted with your own hands 11 years ago, the letter V no longer looking like a smile turned upside down, but simply looking, finally, like a smile, you understand something you could not have understood on the day of that careless joke. Dignity was never something Delphini could take from you with a laugh in front of a crowd, because dignity was never something that lived in other people's opinions. It lived in every quiet sacrifice you made for your daughter, in every night you worked alone under a single lamp, asking nothing in return, in every promise you kept to a woman who could no longer hold your hand, but who somehow, impossibly, led you here anyway. You are Harlan Voss, and you spent 11 years believing the extraordinary parts of your story were finished. You were wrong. They were only waiting, patiently, quietly, the way all the best things do, for you to become ready to receive them again.
Every single day, ordinary people are quickly carrying extraordinary stories, just like Harlan did. If this story moved you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs a little hope today. Thank you for being here, and until next time, take care of your heart. Thank you.